Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever met someone who can, like, quote every single philosophy book perfectly?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Or they can analyze macroeconomic trends and recite all the rules of finance. But
Mm.
then you look at their actual life, and it's just an absolute disaster.
Yeah, they know exactly how the world works on paper, right?
Exactly. On paper, they are geniuses,
Mhm.
yet they can't seem to make a simple decision or hold down a relationship.
Or even figure out what they want for dinner without, building a spreadsheet for it.
Yes, the dinner spreadsheet.
Mm.
So today, we are figuring out why being the smartest person in the room might actually be a massive trap.
It's a really pervasive issue, especially right now. I mean, we live in a culture that just worships the accumulation of data.
We really do.
We assume that if you just gather enough facts, if your brain is just a powerful enough hard drive, success and happiness will automatically follow. But human reality just doesn't operate like a computer algorithm.
It really doesn't. So welcome to today's custom deep dive. If you are listening to this and you've ever felt paralyzed by having like way too much information.
Analysis paralysis.
Yep. Or if you've ever wondered why the person with the highest GPA isn't necessarily the person you'd go to for life advice, we are talking directly to you today.
We have some incredible source material for this one.
We do. We're exploring excerpts from a really fascinating piece of work called Beyond Knowledge. The subtitle is Smart, Intelligent, or Wise? State Your Being.
And this was researched by Carlton Johnson, PhD, from the Spectrix Metaphysical Institute, also known as DOCSI.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to deconstruct these three words. Smart, intelligent, and wise. Because, I do this all the time. We constantly use them interchangeably.
Everyone does. It's so common to just lump them together as synonyms for good brain.
Right. But according to this text, conflating those three words is the exact reason we get stuck in life.
The premise establishes this really vital philosophical baseline right out of the gate, which is being smart is valuable. Being intelligent is powerful. But being wise is transformational.
Wow. Okay, those are definitely not synonyms.
Not at all. They represent entirely different operating systems for a human being. The text basically argues that moving from one to the next is an evolutionary process.
So it's not a given that you just become all three automatically.
Exactly. And if you don't understand the mechanics of that evolution, you will plateau. You'll just get stuck at whatever level you're comfortable in.
That honestly reframes how I view almost our entire educational system. And the corporate world, too.
How so?
Well, we are essentially grading and paying people on their ability to act as search engines, right? Rather than their actual ability to navigate reality.
Ah, that is spot on. We reward the search engine behavior.
So let's start by unpacking that baseline state, being smart. The text defines this as the currency of accumulation.
Accumulation is the perfect word for it. A smart person is essentially a collector.
Like gathering trading cards.
Yeah, but with facts. They know the facts, they know the historical dates, they can recall the exact formula for a math problem. It's an inventory system.
I see. So it's all about what you can store.
Think of it as this massive logistics warehouse. When you are operating strictly in the smart modality, your warehouse is enormous. It spans acres.
And it's super organized, I'm guessing.
Oh, perfectly organized. The shelves are packed to the ceiling with these tightly sealed boxes of information. You have everything available exactly when you need it.
So if someone asks for, like, the capital of Peru.
Right. A mental forklift just zips down aisle 4 and retrieves Lima. It is a highly efficient, perfectly optimized retrieval mechanism.
Okay, but here's where I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
If I have the biggest warehouse, if I have all the answers and I know all the rules to the game we're playing, shouldn't that be enough to win?
You'd think so, right?
Think about the walking encyclopedia type of person. The kid who memorized the entire trivia board.
Yeah.
In most scenarios we face early in life, that person is the valedictorian.
Yeah, they get the A+ on the test.
They literally win the game. So why is being smart a problem?
Well, what's fascinating here is that they win the game of schooling, yes. Because schooling is a closed system with, very predictable questions.
Ah, right. The questions don't change.
But what the text identifies, and this is a really hard truth to swallow for a society built on standardized testing, is the fatal limitation of simply being smart.
Which is what?
Knowledge alone does not tell you what to do with that knowledge.
Oh.
Yeah. Having the inventory in your warehouse doesn't mean you have a shipping address. It doesn't mean you know how to build a house with those materials.
So you just have a big pile of stuff sitting there. The text actually uses the analogy of a calculator or a search engine, which I think is so perfect.
It really clarifies it.
A calculator is infinitely smart, right? It can do any math problem,
Yeah.
but it just sits there on the desk until someone punches in the numbers.
Exactly. Or think about a search engine. It has the sum total of human knowledge indexed in milliseconds.
Literally everything ever written.
Right. But a search engine cannot tell you if you should look up that information in the first place.
It has no judgment.
None. It can't tell you if the medical symptoms you're compulsively Googling at 2 a.m. are going to make you proactive or just trigger a massive panic attack.
Right. It just serves up the facts you request. WebMD will gladly tell me I'm dying.
Because it's a completely passive entity. It just waits for a prompt.
So let's extrapolate on that, because this feels incredibly urgent for our modern world.
Mm-hmm.
We all have search engines in our pockets right now.
At all times.
We have basically externalized the accumulation of facts. So if a machine can be perfectly smart, literally holding all the data, what happens to a human being who stops their personal growth at simply accumulating facts?
Well, they become a biological search engine.
A biological search engine. That is such a harsh but accurate term.
It's true, though. If your primary identity is built around being the person who knows the most things, you are competing in a race that you have already mathematically lost to a microchip.
You can never beat Google at being Google.
Exactly. You become a repository. And like we said, a repository requires a prompt. So a biological search engine often just waits around for the world to present a test so they can pass it.
They're waiting for someone to ask them the capital of Peru.
Yes. They wait for a clear, multiple-choice question so they can provide the answer and get their little dopamine hit of validation.
But life doesn't hand you multiple choice questions. That's the problem. It hands you messy, complex situations with absolutely no clear right answer.
And that's where the smart person freezes.
Right, if you've only memorized the map, but a landslide completely alters the terrain, the smart person is paralyzed. The map is suddenly useless.
And they have no idea how to navigate the woods without it.
Which tells me that accumulation is really just the raw material. It's step one. So if being a biological search engine isn't enough, what happens when we start trying to actually use the data?
Well, that requires an evolutionary leap. We have to move from the accumulation of facts to the organization of facts.
Okay, so organizing the warehouse.
Exactly. And this is where we step into the realm of the intelligent. This is where things become dynamic.
I love the analogy here. Here's where it gets really interesting. If life is a high-performance sports car, being smart is having memorized the owner's manual.
You know the tire pressure specs, you know the fluid capacities.
Right. But being intelligent is being the master mechanic. The mechanic understands exactly how the combustion engine connects to the drivetrain.
Yes. They don't just know the parts, they understand the system.
They see how the parts interact.
That is the perfect distinction. Intelligence is entirely about relationship. Think about a pile of Lego bricks.
Okay.
A smart person looks at that pile and can tally up exactly how many red ones and blue ones there are.
They have the image.
Right. But the intelligent person looks at the exact same pile of Legos and sees the structural potential to build a spaceship.
They see what it could become.
Because they recognize patterns. They grasp causality. They understand that, a change in variable A will inevitably ripple out and affect variable C.
The text has a line that really anchors this shift for me. It says, a smart person knows the answer, but an intelligent person knows how to ask a better question.
That shifts the entire power dynamic.
It really does. The
Well-
smart person is totally satisfied the moment they provide the correct answer. Done. Test passed.
But the intelligent person is fundamentally unsatisfied until they uncover the underlying mechanism. They have to know how the clock ticks.
So an intelligent person can look at a complex failing system, say a struggling business, for example.
And they identify hidden relationships that everyone else is just completely missing.
Right, they don't just notice that revenue's down.
No, they see that a minor supply chain delay 6 months ago caused a customer service backlog. And that backlog slowly eroded brand trust.
Which is now showing up as decreased revenue.
Exactly. They are the architects drawing the blueprints of reality. They see the invisible threads connecting everything.
But the source material throws a massive warning flag right here, like a huge stop sign.
It does. It outlines a dark side to intelligence.
A profound limitation that the text explicitly calls a trap. And honestly, as I was reading this part, I felt personally attacked.
A lot of people do. It's very relatable.
It's the trap of analysis paralysis.
It's a cliche for a reason. But what the text does brilliantly here is explain the mechanism of why intelligent people get trapped.
Right. It's not just that they're lazy or indecisive.
Not at all. It's not a flaw in their character. It is a direct, unavoidable byproduct of their intelligence.
How so?
Because they understand systems and because they can see all those hidden connections, they can foresee every single possibility.
Every single one.
They can foresee every risk, every point of friction, and every potential failure.
Oh, man. The psychological weight of that must be exhausting. Your brain is essentially a predictive engine that is running way too hot.
Yes, it's like having 50 tabs open in your mental browser.
And they are all running worst-case scenario simulations simultaneously. No wonder they can't make a decision.
It is agonizing. The intelligent mind builds these incredibly elaborate, highly accurate architectural models of what could happen.
Like, if I launch this new product, competitor X might respond with a price cut.
Which means my margin drops by 4%.
Which means I can't hire the marketing director I desperately need.
Which means the product fails in Q3 and I lose my job.
Right. And because the intelligent person can see this chain reaction so clearly, they experience the anxiety of the failure before they've even taken the first step.
They become so busy thinking that they never move. That's the quote from the text.
Let's really bring this down to earth for you listening right now.
Yeah.
Think about a major life decision you've been putting off.
Something big.
Yeah, let's say buying your first house. If you were just operating on pure smart logic, you look at your bank account, you look at the price tag of the house, and you make a binary yes or no choice.
Simple, naive, but decisive.
Very decisive. But if you are highly intelligent, you open up Zillow, but you definitely don't stop there.
Oh no, you start analyzing the historical macroeconomic trends of the housing market.
Right, you're looking at interest rate projections for the next 5 years. You pull up the 10-year municipal tax plans for that specific zip code to project your carrying costs.
You correlate the local school district ratings with potential climate change data to estimate the resale value in 20 years.
You literally map out the water table. Like, what if it floods in 2045?
You are constructing a flawless simulation of reality.
And the result of all that brilliant simulation, you absolutely terrify yourself.
Yep, you identify so many potential points of failure.
That you end up signing another 1-year lease on your tiny apartment. Simply because staying put is the only scenario where the variables are completely known.
And here's the irony. Your intelligence successfully protected you from the risk of a bad investment.
True.
But it also completely guaranteed that you build zero equity. The intelligence itself literally becomes the cage.
The cage of your own making.
Yeah.
That is the tragedy of the intelligent trap.
Yeah.
You become an absolute expert in theoretical outcomes, but a total novice in lived experience.
You can describe the aerodynamics of the spaceship perfectly, but you never actually build the thing, let alone launch it into orbit.
If you're listening right now and you have like a half-written business plan sitting on your hard drive for 3 years because you are still researching market trends.
Ouch, yeah.
This text is talking directly to you. You are overthinking the email before you send it. You are overanalyzing a text message from a friend until you decide just not to reply at all.
And while you're busy building these massive architectural models in your mind, someone who is, frankly, a little less intelligent.
But more biased toward action.
Exactly. They just go ahead and launch the business or send the text and they get on with their life.
Which brings us to the critical threshold of this entire philosophy.
Yeah.
Because if the smart person is just a dormant search engine waiting to be queried,
right,
and the intelligent person is completely paralyzed by the sheer volume of possibilities they can simulate in their head, how do we actually move forward?
How do we break out of the simulation and enter reality?
We have to step into wisdom. This is the third stage.
Mm-hmm.
And the text defines wisdom as knowledge tested by reality.
Is intelligence tempered by experience? Tempered like steel forged in a fire?
It is no longer theoretical at this point. It has literally collided with the physical world.
Yes.
But I genuinely struggle with this next part of the source material. There is a specific claim in the text that made me stop and reread it like 3 times.
I know exactly which line you're talking about.
Doc C writes, "A wise person may know fewer facts than a smart person. A wise person may be less analytical than an intelligent person. Yet somehow they consistently make better decisions."
It seems contradictory at first.
It really does. How does that actually work? If you have less raw data and a lower capacity for complex analysis, shouldn't your outcomes be worse?
It's a fair question.
Are we just saying that wisdom is trusting your gut and ignoring the facts? Because honestly, that sounds like a justification for anti-intellectualism. Like, I don't care about the science, I just care about my feelings.
This raises an important question, and it's a trap a lot of people fall into when discussing wisdom. They equate it with, like, folksy intuition or ignoring data.
Right, the whole school of hard knocks thing.
Exactly. But the text is not advocating for anti-intellectualism or ignoring facts at all. It requires us to look at the underlying motivation driving the decision-making process.
Okay, the motivation.
Let's look at the smart person. For them, the drive is egoic. It's the desire to be right.
To get the A+.
Right. To have the correct answer and prove their warehouse is the biggest. Now, for the intelligent person, the drive is to understand completely, to map the entire system flawlessly.
Right. It's all about mental supremacy for both of them, really.
But wisdom has a completely different metric for success. Wisdom is not focused on being technically right or analytically flawless. Wisdom is focused entirely on what produces the best outcome in reality.
The best outcome.
And reality is not a closed mathematical system. Reality is populated by humans. It is messy, it's emotional, and it's highly contextual.
So the wise person makes a better decision because they factor in the human element that raw intelligence just completely ignores.
Exactly. Because wisdom is anchored in outcomes, it incorporates dimensions like timing, emotional state, and context.
The human variables.
The text highlights this beautifully. It says, wisdom knows when to act, when to wait, when to speak, and crucially, when silence is the better answer.
Silence. That is such a profound tool. I mean, think about an argument with a partner or a coworker.
Oh, this is a great example.
An intelligent person can always find a logical flaw in the other person's argument. Always. They can immediately construct a counter-argument that proves they are right.
And a smart person will immediately interject with a corrective fact, like, actually, the data says.
Right. Actually, you said Tuesday, but it was Wednesday.
But the wise person looks at the situation and analyzes the human reality. They ask, if I deploy this corrective fact right now, will it actually resolve the conflict?
Or will it just humiliate my partner and escalate the fight?
Exactly. And if the answer is that it will humiliate them without improving the relationship, the wise person chooses silence.
Wow.
The smart person feels this overwhelming compulsion to speak because they have the data. It's burning a hole in their pocket. But the wise person has the power to withhold it to protect the outcome.
They aren't ignoring the fact. They're just deciding the fact is irrelevant to the desired reality.
Which brings us to the most illuminating and, frankly, the funniest part of this source material.
Oh, yes. To illustrate this exact point, Doxy uses what he calls the tomato test.
It is a brilliant piece of conceptual shorthand.
And we really have to spend some time deconstructing this because the moment you hear it, it permanently changes how you view these three states. Let me read it exactly as it appears in the text.
Go for it.
A smart person knows a tomato is a fruit. An intelligent person understands why a tomato is a fruit. A wise person knows not to put it in a fruit salad.
It functions as a joke, but it immediately clarifies the mechanism of wisdom.
It totally does. Let's break the mechanics of this down. Start with the smart person. The smart person knows a tomato is a fruit.
That is pure accumulation.
Right. It is a biological fact you memorized in middle school. You have the flashcard in your mental warehouse.
Now look at the intelligent person. They understand why it is a fruit. They comprehend the entire botanical classification system.
They know the whole structure.
Right. They know that a fruit develops from the ovary of a flower and contains seeds, whereas vegetables are other plant parts like roots, stems, or leaves.
The intelligent person sees the structural, biological connection between a tomato, an apple, and a pumpkin.
They have mapped the underlying biological architecture perfectly.
Right. Their simulation is flawless. But then we introduce the friction of human reality.
The real world.
You are standing in the kitchen, making a fruit salad for a summer barbecue. If you operate strictly on logic, if you're purely intelligent, you look at the tomato and say, fact, fruit, system, belongs with other fruits.
Action. I will dice this Roma tomato and mix it with the watermelon, the cantaloupe, and the grapes.
And you completely ruin the barbecue.
You destroy the outcome.
And why? Because you applied technical intelligence without the context of human experience. You completely ignored culture, palate, and expectation.
The fruit salad in this analogy is human reality. The botanical fact that a tomato is a fruit is technically true, but culinarily it is completely irrelevant.
It doesn't matter as a barbecue.
Not at all. The wise person knows that a tomato functions as a vegetable. It has a savory flavor profile. The wise person holds the knowledge they know it's a fruit, but they temper it with lived experience.
Which tells them that savory and sweet don't mix in this specific context.
They are willing to bend or ignore a technical truth in favor of a practical reality.
That completely answers my pushback from earlier. It's not anti-intellectual to leave the tomato out of the salad.
No, it's hypercontextual.
How often do we fail the tomato test in our real lives? Seriously, think about the workplace. How often do we insist on implementing a mathematically perfect operational process, completely ignoring the fact that it's going to destroy team morale and cause your best employees to quit?
It happens every single day in corporate environments.
You put the tomato in the fruit salad just to prove you knew it was a fruit.
We sacrifice the outcome on the altar of our own intelligence all the time. We want to prove our logic is flawless. But wisdom says, I don't care about proving the botanical classification. I just want to serve a dish that people actually want to eat.
That is such a profound shift in perspective. So we have established the definitions. We know that being a smart biological search engine is passive. We know the intelligent architect gets trapped in the simulation.
And we see the beauty of the wise person navigating reality.
Right, so the ultimate question is, how do we actually build the bridge from intelligence to wisdom? How do we force ourselves to take that step?
The text notes a widespread cultural phenomenon here. Most people spend their entire lives trying to become smarter.
Guilty as charged.
We buy nonfiction books, we download language apps, we listen to deep dive analyses just like this one. We are obsessed with upgrading our mental hard drives.
More facts, more data.
A smaller percentage actively works on becoming more intelligent. They study mental models, they learn systems thinking, but very few people intentionally cultivate wisdom.
Why is that? Why is wisdom so rare if it's the ultimate goal?
Because, as the text states, wisdom doesn't arrive when information enters your mind. Wisdom emerges when information changes your life.
Whoa, let me just process that. That is the chasm, the terrifying gap between knowing a concept and actually embodying it.
It requires physical friction. You can sit in a comfortable, climate-controlled room and become incredibly smart. You can read a textbook on human psychology while lying on a beach.
Very low stakes.
But you cannot become wise without stepping into the arena and letting that theoretical information violently collide with reality.
To map out how we bridge that gap, the Spectrix Metaphysical Institute provides a specific framework. They call it Vibra, V-I-B-R-A.
Vision integrated by reinforced action.
Or, to use a single word, alignment. Let's look at the mechanics of this alignment. The text says, a smart person may have the vision. They have the picture in their head. They know the destination coordinates.
An intelligent person may understand how all the pieces fit together. They can draw the map. They can plot the most efficient route, avoiding traffic and tolls.
But the actual alignment, the physical realization of that vision, only occurs through reinforced behavior.
Reinforced behavior, not just doing it once when you feel motivated, doing it repeatedly until the behavior actually rewires who you are.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means that all the knowledge sitting in your head right now, without physical action, is just potential energy.
Think of a massive boulder resting at the exact peak of a hill. It has incredible potential energy. It's smart. It's intelligent.
But until you actually push it off the ledge and it rolls down the hill and smashes through a barrier, it hasn't done anything. It has no kinetic reality.
The text delivers a very stark quote here. Wisdom is realized potential.
Realized potential.
You cannot think your way into wisdom. You cannot meditate your way into it. You cannot journal your way into it. You have to behave your way into it.
You literally have to make the terrible fruit salad, take a bite, realize it tastes like garbage, and then never do it again.
That is the reinforced action.
So how do we build an engine that naturally converts this theoretical knowledge into lived wisdom? The text provides a fascinating geometric model for this. Imagine a physical shape. Doxy calls it the subtle energy cube.
Let's visualize a literal cube in our hands. It has 4 faces that we move through sequentially. The first face you encounter is awareness. The text defines this as recognizing where you are.
So tying this back to our earlier vocabulary, awareness is the smart face. It is the accumulation of the raw facts of your current reality.
Right. My bank account is overdrawn. My marriage is failing. I am outer shape.
It's just raw, unemotional data collection.
Precisely. You have identified the variables, but awareness changes nothing on its own. So you physically turn the cube to the second phase, application.
Choosing a modality, a practice, or a specific course of action.
This is where intelligence bridges into action. You look at the systems, you evaluate the connections, and you make a choice to intervene. I will follow a zero-based budget. I will schedule marriage counseling. I will lift weights 3 times a week.
You are pushing the boulder off the ledge. You are initiating the kinetic energy.
Yes. And here is the tragedy of human development. This is exactly where 90% of people stop.
Wait, really? At application?
Yes. They think the choice of application is the end of the process. They buy the gym membership, and they feel the dopamine hit of making a smart choice.
Oh, I've definitely been there. Buying the planner and feeling like my life is organized.
Exactly. But the cube has a third face, and it is the most brutal one. The third face is outcome.
Observing what actually happens in reality.
This is the crucible. This is where reality tests your theories. You applied the zero-based budget, but did you actually stick to it? Or did you impulse buy a watch?
Did the water heater explode and completely ruin the spreadsheet?
You went to the gym, but did you use terrible form and tear a rotator cuff?
So why do humans naturally avoid this outcome phase? Because it seems like we do everything in our power to look away from it.
We avoid it because of cognitive dissonance. The outcome phase is entirely devoid of your ego. It doesn't care how smart your plan was or how intelligent your intentions were.
It's just what happened.
It is just raw, unfeeling reality reflecting your physical actions back at you. If your intelligent mind built a model that said doing X will result in Y, but reality delivers Z, your ego is wounded.
Right, the simulation failed.
The intelligent mind hates the outcome phase because reality is messy, unpredictable, and often proves the simulation wrong.
So we retreat. We go back to the application phase and find a new diet or a new budget instead of dealing with the outcome of the last one.
Constantly starting over.
But if we can withstand the friction of the outcome phase, we reach the vital fourth side of the cube, reflection. Learning from the experience.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the scientific method applied to the human soul. Awareness is your observation, application is your physical experiment, outcome is your data collection, and reflection is your conclusion.
And what actually happens in that reflection phase? The text points out something profound here. Notice something. That process mirrors wisdom itself. Wisdom is not information. Wisdom is information repeatedly tested through experience.
Repeatedly tested. The reflection phase is a feedback loop. It takes the bruised, battered data from the outcome phase, feeds it back into your internal systems, reorganizes your intelligence, and prepares you for the next attempt.
Let's talk about the mistake aspect of this, because the text makes a massive point here that I really want to highlight for anyone listening who beats themselves up over past failures.
It's a game changer.
The quote is, "The wise person isn't necessarily the person who made the fewest mistakes. Often, they're the person who paid attention to the lessons those mistakes revealed."
That completely inverts our conventional school-based understanding of success.
It totally does. We are conditioned from kindergarten that the absolute goal of life is to get 100% on the test, to make 0 errors.
The smart person is terrified of making a mistake because it implies their warehouse of facts is incomplete.
And the intelligent person is paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake because they can foresee all the cascading negative consequences.
But the wise person understands that the mistake is not a failure. The mistake is the curriculum.
The mistake is the mandatory friction required to forge intelligence into wisdom. Think about the geometry of the cube. If you don't make the mistake, if your experiment doesn't fail in the real world, you don't generate any data on the outcome phase.
And if you have no data on the outcome phase, you have nothing to process in the reflection phase.
And if you can't reflect on failure, you cannot become wise. You are trapped in theory.
You are stuck toggling between awareness and application forever. You have brilliant theories, but absolutely no lived reality.
So to you, the listener, how often are you viewing your past missteps, the failed business, the broken relationship, the terrible investment, as permanent stains on your record?
How often are you agonizing because your intelligent brain is whispering, "I should have known better, I had the data"?
This source material is giving you the structural permission to reframe that entirely. You didn't fail. You successfully gathered crucial data from the outcome phase of the cube.
The only true failure, the only real tragedy, is if you skip the reflection phase and just keep making the exact same mistake.
Which brings us to the ultimate combination of this entire cycle. The text lays out a beautiful progression here. Vision creates direction. Experience creates understanding. Reflection creates discernment. Discernment creates wisdom. And wisdom creates a better, clearer vision.
And the cycle continues. But Doc C makes a crucial geometric distinction here to close out his framework. He says this process is not a circle.
Okay, this is so important.
Yeah.
Focus on this part. Not a circle.
No, it is a spiral.
Let's dig into the mechanical difference between a circle and a spiral, because it changes everything about how we view our growth. A circle implies a closed loop. You are going round and round, returning to the exact same starting coordinates.
You make a mistake, you feel guilty, you do it again, you are trapped on a 2D plane.
A spiral, however, operates in 3 dimensions. It has verticality. Every single time you complete the cycle of the cube, every time you push through, brave the application, suffer the outcome, and process the reflection, you come back around to a similar situation, but you are not at the same elevation.
You are 1 rotation higher on the spiral.
You have a deeper level of understanding. You are looking down at the same problem. Maybe it's the same recurring argument with your spouse, or the same bottleneck in your business. But you are viewing it from a higher vantage point. You have the context you lacked the first time.
That vertical movement is the definition of growth. That is the transformation the text promised at the very beginning. Not simply more information, but greater integration. Not simply more knowledge, but greater wisdom.
Okay, we have traversed some incredibly dense, challenging territory here today.
We covered a lot of ground.
We deconstructed the passive nature of being a biological search engine. We mapped the agonizing trap of intelligent analysis paralysis, and we walked through the literal geometry of how to forge wisdom through the friction of reality. Let's pull this all together as we wrap up.
The final hierarchy provided by the text is perhaps the clearest encapsulation of everything we've discussed today. It summarizes the entire deep dive in 3 sentences. Smart fills the mind, intelligence organizes the mind, wisdom governs the mind.
Fills, organizes, governs. If we go back to the car analogy, smart is the fuel filling the tank. Intelligence is the engine organizing the combustion. But wisdom is the driver governing the steering wheel.
You can have a full tank and a perfect engine, but without a driver, you are either sitting in the driveway or crashing into a wall.
And that leads directly to the call to action for the listener today. Remind yourself that the ultimate quality of your life, the actual trajectory of your days, won't be determined by how much you know.
It won't be determined by how many deep dives you listen to, or how perfectly you can analyze a situation in your head.
It will be determined solely by how consistently you apply what you know in the physical world. Transformation begins at integration. It begins when you push the boulder off the ledge.
When you align your vision with your behavior through reinforced action.
When you actually subject your pristine theories to the brutal, beautiful test of reality.
And this brings us to a lingering thought, a provocation to leave you with as you close this out and return to your life.
We've established that wisdom strictly requires reality testing. It requires stepping into the arena, generating messy outcomes, and yes, making mistakes in order to move up that spiral. So, here is the specific question for you to mull over today. What mistake are you actively avoiding right now because your highly intelligent brain is overanalyzing it?
What is the decision you are currently deferring? What is the physical action you are delaying because you are too busy running simulations of all the variables that could possibly go wrong?
And how is that exact avoidance, that absolute refusal to engage with the outcome face of the cube, blocking your path to becoming wise? What metaphorical fruit salad are you terrified of ruining right now, when in reality, making a terrible salad is the exact mandatory lesson you need to finally learn how to cook?
It is a profound and slightly terrifying realization when you finally see that your own intelligence might be the very wall standing between you and the wisdom you are seeking.
It truly is. We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Doc C. Johnson's incredible work. The anatomy of wisdom is complex, but the path forward is clear. It requires friction. It requires action.
As the source material signs off, we encourage you to do the same. Continue your inward journey, align your behavior with your purpose, and move forward with true, tested intention.
Keep diving deep.